everyone. Thanks for coming to another craft night here. Tonight we are working on the Splendid Sampler 2. We have been working our way through this book of 100 blocks. We are a little over halfway done, so 50 plus completely different blocks done so far. Tonight we're continuing on the Double Dutch block. We're about halfway done with that. So thanks for joining me here. My name is Alyssa Thomas from Penguin and Fish, where we make cute embroidery kits for beginners. And I'm here every weeknight at 8:30 p.m. Central Time, and it's a time that we can relax and craft together. So let's get going on this quilt today. Thanks again. All right, so here is the finished, what it should look like, the Double Dutch block. We have the two corners there done. I'm using very pale colors for my quilt, so we got like these two little blips up there, and we need to do these two. And we might even be able to do those tonight. I know we did these in one evening pretty quickly, and I screwed it up. I had to take it out because I cut some of one of my strips wrong. So I have my whole project here out because I think we need to pick fabric and stuff too. But I also have our embroidery of the month. So this is our butterfly using that whipped back stitch to kind of make this baker's twine type look with it. Like here you can see like the black and blue together. I think that shows both colors really well. We'll be starting to stitch this next week, so make sure to grab your PDF pattern or your bundle or your fabric piece. The link for that is in just below here. So we'll be starting that next week. This week is the Splendid Sampler 2. We are doing the quilt as you go method. So we actually have half of the quilt done. Even though we're only halfway done with the blocks, we're halfway done with the quilt as well. So these are fully quilted already, and yeah, we got about half of those done. In rows yet, we don't have like long rows sewn together quite yet, so that'll be a bit, but I just wanted to see what we got going on here. So we're kind of doing them in groups of 4, and I think we only have 2 here. So these 2, and then we're gonna hopefully get going on this Double Dutch one tonight, and we'll see where we're at by the end of the week. Maybe we'll even get another one going. So, all right, I'm going to pick some fabric here. It looks like I didn't pick the other color. If I remember right, we did this on location at my parents' house, and we had just finished another block, so this was just kind of like grab and go, see if we can get another one done. Unless we got stuff right on top here, which could be the case. We might have chosen colors. These look like pretty promising strips here. I don't know. It looks like we need... Okay. So we had someone here had a great idea. It might have been Kimberly. I'm not sure. But had a great idea on how to make these blocks. So, I mean, I should in theory be following the instructions, but this idea was so good that I'm like, ooh, I gotta try that. So the idea was to make 2 more of these, but the second color. And then we'll add a little white square to the end here to make that little bit. So kind of like how we're making a snowball block. We did that a month ago or whatever with the Aurifil block of the month, where it's basically a square and you put little half square triangles, little corners on with a different color. And I think that's what we're going to do here. I think that's going to be a quick, easy way to do it. It's something I've never done before, and I think it's going to be like a little magic trick, so I'm pretty excited about that. And I suspect we may have what we need right here, or at least the start of it. So it looks like we need 1.5 inch. So these were made out of, the original was made out of completely just separate squares sewn together. We actually made this out of strips, like kind of a special quick way of doing these 9-patch blocks like this, and we're going to do the same thing tonight. So I need to make 2 different segments. So I need to make one, this is the color we must have picked. I need to make one segment that's this color, then white, and then then this color again. So we'll sew these 3 rows together. These all look like 1.5 inches, right? That's where we went wrong last time. I accidentally cut a 1-inch strip. So we'll have these segments sewn together, and then we'll cut them in strips. So like we'll cross cut them, I mean. So if I cut it right here, now all of a sudden I have 3 squares sewn together, and that looks a whole lot like these 3 squares sewn together. So we're actually creating the look of 3 squares by first cutting and sewing strips, if that makes sense. I'm also trying to get my bearings here from working on this the other night. So this, I need one more white strip, it looks like, because again I messed one up, so I probably stole a white strip. Oh yeah, here's the one I messed up. I cut it 1 inch instead of 2. I don't think I need these anymore. So these are actual scraps. I might have enough with this long strip. Let's just kind of see what I need. Oh yeah, I only need 2 that are white, the colored fabric, and then white again. One for this one and one for that one. So you know what? I'm going to just, while I'm right here with my little scissors right here, I think this will be plenty. We are making kind of a lot of little waste here, but for this whole project we've been using the scraps and sewing them together for other things. But there we go. Now we have the opposite. So this will make a white square, and that will be a whole lot like these ones. White color white. So by having the 2 white color white in the middle, and then the color white color on both sides on the outside, that's this, we'll have our combination of blocks. So ultimately what we're trying to do is make 2 more of these with the other color, and then there will be 1 extra step of putting on the little point edges. That we might have to cut another white strip. Unless I measure correctly now, and then we can use these. I think I'll just cut another one. It's not a measuring type day. It is a just sew and see where we get type day. I need 8 1.5-inch pieces, squares of white later. Oh, that's a lot. I'll definitely need another strip for that, so I'm not worried. Okay. Rambling a little bit to myself here, trying to catch myself up to the plan here again, but I think it'll make sense in a little bit. Just keep in mind we have basically 2 segments: the white color white, and then the color white color. Those are the bits that we're going to sew together. So I'm going to sew these. I'm going to trade off. I'm going to sew these 2, then these 2, then sew this to this, and then this to this, so I can just kind of keep it running on the machine. All right, I think that's the plan. Okay, let's grab our first 2 bits here. So if I really was, doing this in a perfect way, I would measure and cut these to the exact size, but I'm not doing that. We're just sewing. I'm going to just, and we'll have like these weird sewn together pieces that we won't put in any other quilt later, but I like improv piecing things together with scraps, so I don't mind having scraps. And this whole quilt is a whole project of making scraps because each block is different, so each block, we got to do separately and cut weird angles and all that, and that makes a lot of scraps. Oh, I just did what I said I wasn't going to do, which is take it off the machine in the middle. I was going to just sew the next strip for the next piece on. Again, I'm telling you, it's that type of day. That's why I can't have, no measuring. This is a no-measure evening, at least as much as I can get away with. Oh, if I remember right, I think we are racing the bobbin too. Racing in the sense of playing chicken with it, like, are we going to finish the project first, or run out of bobbin thread first? I don't know. Alright. Ooh, Sylvia says, today I pulled all of my orphan blocks. I'm doing the math to make a quilt with them. That's awesome! So orphan blocks is just a way of saying random blocks from other projects that you just happen to have an extra block, or a project you started and didn't really want to finish, but you had some blocks done for it. Those are orphan blocks. They didn't make it into the quilt or into the project, so you can't just throw those away. So Sylvia's making a whole nother quilt out of that, which is pretty cool. All right, let me grab this guy off of here. Okay, this one's the color white color. Ooh, I should get the iron heated up. We're gonna need that in a sec. Okay, right sides together. Oh, let's kind of sew off the side here. There we go. So I'm trying to sew with my good seam allowance, like a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And I know just from sewing on this machine that it's just like a hair over that edge. I might be a little far here. But I'm doing my best. We'll see how this ends up. All right, now we can take it off the machine. So using my leader and ender quilt blocks to take it off the machine. There, now I can snip it and just have like this little piece here, not long strings. All right, let's see what we got here now. We have, there we go. We have our white, color white, and our color white color. Okay, next let's press. I believe I am pressing towards the dark side. That would make sense. So towards the colored side there. I'm just checking to see if that's what I did here, and it looks like I did. Okay, great. So let's get a little pressing mat out here and press it towards the color. So I'm going to press towards the inside here. There we go. Get this side. All right, then we'll get the outside nice. We've been doing so many strips like this for the granny square quilt, so this is kind of a very similar process. So there we go, nice and flat. That's our first chunk. And these guys, we press towards the, maybe we'll do it flat this way here. I'm going to just set that there for a sec. There, I'm just going to go right down the middle here, I think. We'll get this better in a sec, but this will at least kind of get it started going in the right way. Then I'll flip it around and try and really get into those seams. This side too. I think I got the fold a little weird on some of those, but I think we got it. There. Okay, now is where the magic of this process starts a little bit. So let's scooch these out of the way so I have a little more space. We are going to cross cut these now. I needed 2 of these and I need 4 of these. So cross cut just means cut it in the like perpendicular direction of where your strips are going here. So we'll get a nice clean edge here. You know what? We can even do both at the same time, I think. Although I haven't switched my blade on the sewing machine, or the rotary cutter yet. Let's scooch down a little bit more. So hopefully I can cut through this much stuff. It'd probably be a little bit more exact if I didn't cut them together, but less cutting is better than me. All right, let me grab a ruler. Let's use this feller today. Nice and small. Oh, cutting glove. Always freaks me out now if I don't have the cutting glove on. All right. So this is just to clean the ends so we can get some nice, perfect cuts, because here's where we want the nice, perfect cuts. So I'm just going to rotate this because everything's all nice together. I want to cut from this side. So 1.5 inches. Lining that up nice. Okay, so 2 of the top. I better check. Yeah, 1.5 inches. Okay. There. So now they're starting to look like little squares. The reason they look like rectangles is because we haven't sewn either these sides, so we'll lose that seam allowance width, and then it'll end up being squares. Ooh, you guys, we have a very special thing coming up tomorrow. So you'll have to check your emails tomorrow and keep your eye open for some stuff. All right. And okay, so we have 2 of those and 2 of these so far. We just need 2 more of these. Lots of extra, but like I said, we'll sew all these together in something later. Keeping the scraps and using them, sewing them together. Okay, 1 more. Oh, I scooched it a little. I'm going to line it up on the straight edges of the cutting mat again. Kind of find that helpful. There. Okay, so these are my scraps. They're kind of fun. We can sew those together later for, part of a scrappy quilt. I'll put that in my scrap area there. Okay, now watch this. This is the cool part. Now we take these pieces and we mingle them with these opposite ones. And there we go. We got one of our little checkerboard 9 patches here, and then we have a second one because there's 2 in this block. There we are, like magic. It looks like squares, but we cut them out of strips. So love it, love this process. Now I think let's just sew them together. So this row first, then these 2, so I can keep sewing on the machine. Then I'll take these off, so I can sew that one on, and then I'll take these off to sew that one on. Then we'll use our leader, if that makes sense. So we'll press all of that after that, and then we gotta still add those white little corners on here. So we'll actually need to measure and cut, but the least amount of measuring and cutting as possible. Sounds good to me tonight. All right, let's, the other thing is that my seam allowances are pressed in opposite directions, and when you do that, it helps line up the seams. You can see even that seam is matching up. That's what's going to give us like super perfect lines, like have this line totally match up with this one versus being a little like stair-stepped one way or the other. So having seams that are pressed in the opposite direction, that should help us a little bit, because you can kind of butt up the folds of those seams to each other, and it's called nesting your seam. I'm just going to try and pull the bottom to really make sure that they are physically nested together there. And then we can sew. This should help us get those perfect seams to match up. All right, so sew through that one. Now, while my needle's down, I'm going to try and line up these next 2. You can actually feel when those seams match up. So I'm just kind of feeling for them bumping together there. And I'm using my stiletto. This is just nice to use like as a little extra pointy finger to hold it down there as I sew, and holding down the little ends so they stay together. All right, that's the first one on the first block, and now let's get the first two rows on, first two columns on the second block. Holding that down right there again. Ooh, one more. There we go. I like having the needle down because if I pull on the fabric, it's not going to slide away because the needle's holding it there in place. Let me know if you guys are working on this project still. My mom finished this a zillion years ago. I kind of feel like this is the never-ending project, but we are ticking away at it. There, those look awesome. So perfectly lined up. You wouldn't be able to tell at all, like if we had sewn them this way or this way. They're just really nicely lined up. So that's the goal. Now let's see if we can do it with this one. Let's flip that around. Again, those seams are opposite directions, so we can nest them. Let's get a little less crooked. There we're lined up. Oof. Grabbed a little funny. I didn't think I had the right seam allowance there. Okay. Grab this one. All right, first. Oop, that one turned out pretty good too. Yay! It's always nice when that works out. Okay. Just gonna try and, they don't feel quite lined up. I need to pull the bottom one to suck it in a little bit. Yep, I think we're lined up now. All right, I just need another leader and ender square for my basket. Squares are getting sort of low again. It's crazy. These just build up. Eventually we'll have all this, like, quilt size. Eventually. In my head, I'm like, ooh, soon we'll run out of all of... This is all recycled clothing. I'm like, soon we'll run out of all that. But then I'm like, nope. I'll never, ever run out of my bins of old clothing in the basement that I've saved for, like, this purpose. It's, like, never ending. All right, we got our squares, and ooh, they were lined up perfect. Man, okay. Measuring I might not be on tonight, but sewing is being awesome. So that's always fun. All right, I'm gonna press these. It looks like I pressed them outward. Let's do that. I think that's probably easiest. Just gonna kind of hover over them a bit there, get it started. Okay, and squish them out. So we have not followed the instructions at all yet. We just kind of the strip way of making a little block like this was too good to pass up. I didn't want to cut all the little individual squares and sew it that way. So we are abandoning the instructions, but that's what's nice. I mean, that's why I'm really happy we did the Aura-Fill block of the month, where I made all of those all of the cornerstone, like all those extra small blocks that we made of all the kind of common quilt blocks. So we had like I don't think we did a 9 patch actually because the measurement was a little weird for that, but you know, half square triangles and that snowball where we did put triangles in the corners, like all of those kind of skills that we did there, we gotta just utilize now. It's just I'm seeing it in use. It's fun. I'm excited about that. All right, you know what? I think we're here. Let's give these guys a little extra press. We're not ready to sew them together yet. We gotta make those extra corners. So next is cutting. So might as well get pre-press this. Because why not? Because I want to peek what it's gonna look like. So it'll be something like this. However, these two, we still need those little white corners in there, right? So that's the only thing left to do. So to do that, we are going to need 8 1.5 inch 1.5 inch squares. So 8, so like 4 for these 4 corners and 4 for these 4 corners. So let's see. If we did a strip, it would be the 8 inches plus ½ inches on all those 8 inches. So that would be like another 4 inches. So we'd be at 12 inches. Okay, math is kicking in. I feel good. We need a 12-inch, in theory, if I cut it in one strip, then I need a 12-inch strip, and then we'll cross-cut it to 8 individual 1.5-inch squares. Okay. Got it. Had to repeat it to myself again. So let's find some white in here. Oh, Gretchen, I had absolutely 0 symptoms whatsoever from my second COVID shot. I was over the moon happy about that. Really lucked out, I think. Maybe I can cut these from a pile of strips here. I think I'm going to use up all my weird scrappy white fabric versus cutting it in new. So I won't do a 12-inch strip, but it's got to equal about a 12-inch strip, right? We'll have to do a little bit more math, I guess. And you know what? I'm going to press this too. Oh, Gretchen, you didn't have any symptoms either. That's awesome. Yeah, I was just, I was not looking forward to that at all. And it actually, you know, my first shot, all I had was a sore arm, and just kind of it lasted a little while, just a little sore, more sore than usual, but nothing to complain about whatsoever. And second shot, my arm didn't even hurt as much. It was really awesome. So I'm hoping that's it, and I'm good to go. Pretty dang happy about that. All right, let's cut like a 1.5 inch piece. So what can we get out of here? This is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 inches. Okay, so, well, let's just see. I can't do math anymore. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we can get 4 out of this piece. Oh, I'm going to need a little longer ruler, huh? All right, let's grab this guy. There's just enough in this little piece for 4. Nice to use up these goofy, scrappy pieces. This isn't really that much of a goofy, scrappy piece, but this is an easy, small piece. All right, so let's do the 1. Oh, gosh. I hate this ruler. 1.5 inches. I just, for some reason, can never quite get the lines just right. All right. This is an actual scrap now. I'm going to put that in my scrap area. And then let's get our 4 pieces out of here right away. Cut that little icky edge off. And should be able to get 4 1.5ers out of here. One. Kind of doing this a slow way, like I'm not layering fabric or folding this in half and to like cut 2 at once or anything. I'm just slowly gonna cut my strip, my 1.5 inch squares out of here. Okay, and one more I can get here. Right, and another little piece. All right, that's half of it. So we used up one little scrappy piece. Let's see what we can get out of here. Let's just start by cutting. Ooh, but maybe this is longer. So what did I need for 4? I need 4 inches plus another 2. I need 6. So I need at least 6 inches. Oh, that's plenty that way. What about this way? That's what I kind of wanted to do. Oh, that's good enough too. Great, so I'm going to just chop this off. I mean, I'm going to still end up with wonky pieces here, but whatever. Woo, man. Glad I had the glove on there. I kind of slipped a little bit. All right, we might be able to use this for an applique piece. I'll leave it in our bin, in our usable bin. All right, we'll just rotate this. Okay, so another 1.5 inch cut here, and then we should be able to get our other 4 out of here. All right, you're a good piece yet too. I'll save ya. All right, this time let's fold it in half. Get this job done quicker. All right, so I'm going to trim. Trim our edges. All right, and let's rotate that and then cut 2 1.5 inch squares out of here. All right, so that's 2 and another 2, and we got our 4 twice as fast with an itty bitty scrap left. Okay, we are set. All right, so we got our 8 squares. All right, so these I'm going to put aside. They're not for this part. So, you know what? I think I'm going to get my pencil. We're going to do the... I'm getting my little ruler here, or my little mat here for just a smaller place to draw on. But, pencil. Ooh, got one. We've been doing some work. We cut a hole. I think I must have talked about this already, but I didn't. John and I are cutting a hole from our kitchen to the living room. So we're kind of opening up that whole space, and we're doing a tiny little bit of work each weekend. So this has been like at least a 2-month project by this time, but the hole in the wall has been so lovely. It's been absolutely amazing. But my pencils keep leaving because we use them to measure stuff, and then I'm like, where are my pencils? Okay, so what we're doing now is I'm going to draw a diagonal line on the back of here, and then we're going to sew them. I think this is going to work, right? This should work with these 1.5 inch things. So this is the part that I haven't done before, making a 9 patch and then sewing squares on the end to kind of create our little edge, but it should work fine. There, yeah, so that's what we're going to end up with. So we do have extra white, but remember, that'll be in the seam allowance, so it'll actually be cut off like that once it's sewn in. So yeah, I'm going to just draw a line on the diagonal, then we're going to put them in the 4 corners, like so, and then we're just going to sew directly on the diagonal. We'll actually cut this excess off, and this will be pressed up. I love it. This is I would have never thought of this Oh, Kimberly says they say to keep the corners matched up. Oh yeah, like this corner. Yep. So we'll keep these corners matched up, the outer edge, and then we'll just sew along that diagonal. It'll feel weird because it's not completely lined up with like this point, but that again is because of the seam allowance. Once the seam allowance is sewn, then we'll have like our perfect points there. So yeah, we'll just line up these corners. But I do like, I don't always do this, but I do like drawing the diagonals on sometimes. It's just, that much easier to sew on a line versus sometimes I can just fold it and you can sew on that fold. But I don't know. Tonight feels like a don't skip steps sort of night. Like don't just think you can sew a diagonal line sort of night. It's just let's draw that line and sew on that line. You gotta feel out where your body's at. I think sometimes with crafting, like, okay, what can my mind and body sort of take? And I don't think my brain could magically sew a diagonal tonight. And this is kind of relaxing. Oh, cool. Amy says I draw the line or iron too. Yeah, you can actually. Sometimes I'll just like finger press. Like I'll the other way I do this, I'll just show you. I just finger press. You can actually put an iron on there too. So here, let's just finger press. Just, making it flat with my fingers. Kimberly's like, well, it is Monday night. Yeah, I'm feeling it. But there you go. We got a magic diagonal in there just from folding. I'll just leave that one. That looks pretty good. But I don't know. Sometimes with folding, I feel like you gotta be all finicky and match up stuff. To me, for some reason right now, this pencil line just seems the least finicky on my brain. All right, that should be 8, right? 4, 8. Great. That rhymed. All right, let's get these fellers now. So, the trick is we got to make sure the edges match and the diagonals are, we don't want to go this way where, we're not sewing here to there. That's not going to work. So the diagonal, the points got to be touching edges. So I think I might just, you know what, I was thinking, I'll just line all these up all at once, but I think that feels too finicky too. Like I feel like, it's gonna fall off when I put it on the sewing machine. So we'll do the first 2, and then we'll just keep taking the last one off the machine and lining up the next one. I think that'll work. So, all right, those are our first 2. Let's get sewn here. I'm going to sew them all, and then we will press them. I'm going to actually press them before I cut off the edge, and I'll talk about that in a sec. And then we'll cut off the end. Oh, and Jenna's saying be sure to sew slightly on the corner side to allow for the fold over. That's a good point. So I'm gonna. We have our diagonal line. I'm actually going to hover like a literal hair length or like another like pencil line's width worth towards this edge, because then when we fold it this way, it will kind of fold over that seam, and it'll be a better fold, because if we sew right on the line or a little too far this way, then our edge might be a little too short. I mean, that's exaggerated, but then our triangle won't line up at the end. So if we err on the side of making, going towards the outside a little bit, a little outside of that line, it will just be a tinge better. So we'll attempt that. So a tinge to the outside, and like literally another pencil line's worth. So I'm just going to go right to the outside of that line. And if you go right on the line, that'll be fine too. And if you actually go too too far this way, that's fine, because we'll be pressing it, and we'll press it exactly where we want it to be. So no one will know if there's a little bit extra fold there once it's sewn in. No one will know. I don't know if any of you all are on TikTok, but that's a whole trend on TikTok when people do little silly things that, you know, will be hidden in some way, and they're like, no one will know. There's this whole sound of, no one will know. They'll know, no one will know. Alright, so we got that first one on both of them. So there you can see, ultimately, there we are. That's our little triangle that we're going for. Yay, this is gonna work totally well. Oh, Patty's like, how will they know? No one will know. Jennifer's like, we will know. Yeah, but we're all like top secret agents that won't tell anybody. Alright, here's my next one. Again, I'm making sure that those diagonals are, you know, touching the edges, not, you know, I'm not going that way. This is the one that we folded to create our diagonal. So that's, you know, works perfectly well. It's actually a nice idea on light colored fabrics like this to do that fold, but again, seemed a hair past my like finicky meter what that could handle tonight. Alright, I'm like, where'd my other one go? It's still on the machine. There we are. Alright, and here's that one. Alright, we got, you know, 5 more of these puppies. Let's keep going around. There we are. Ugh, this other guy's in my way. There we go. Out of here. Alright, 2, 3. So obviously, you know, I'm on white fabric here, but you would draw your diagonal line on the wrong side of the fabric, so like the back side of the fabric, but the white has no front or back, so I just picked a side. But any other time I would do the lines on the back. Okay, 3 more. Alright. Rotate that. This is a fabulous technique to do this, and I'm gonna use this idea again. Kimberly, right? You were the one that suggested this back when I was at my parents' house working on this block, I think. Good idea. I like it. Great idea on making these blocks. I think we cut down the sewing time and cutting time and everything time of this block by like 2/3, like seriously, by doing the strip method and by doing these corners like this, compared to cutting all of these pieces individually, which would have taken ages, and then you know, being finicky with the perfect half square triangles and sewing them all together. It would have been a lot more matching up and finickiness. This just the strips to make the 9 patches, and this for the corners. That's just great. I'm loving our shortcuts with this one, our magic tricks with this one. That's what it is. And I bet you with some of these other kind of basic-y quilt blocks, there's got to be oodles of tricks and ways to do all those too. So that's what I don't know about. So whenever I find out about like a fun trick to get the same result in like a quarter of the time, I'm like, oh right, teach me. So I'm liking this, doing this afterwards, instead of like doing these half square triangle corners afterwards instead of before and then sewing it together. Smart, smart. Uh-oh. That's feeling weird. Ah! Now we're out of bobbin. Look. Perfect. So, well, not quite perfect because I don't we haven't sewn our 4 pieces together, but it didn't happen in the middle of our sewing, so I'm feeling good about that. Let's take care of this right away. We knew this was going to happen soon here. All right, yep, there's our empty bobbin there. So I did try and use this machine to wind bobbins again. I have not had great success with winding bobbins on this machine, but I was able to get a few started. So I was able to get about this much wound before the thread broke. And I'm not quite sure why it's breaking. Like, I don't know what it's getting stuck on or pulled on for it to break. But I got 2 that look like this, so I got 2 that should last us a little while. So, get this guy threaded again. It's funny, this is, I'm still having 2 different colors of thread for the top and bottom. We had gray for the top and like this tan, a different tan for the bottom, but then I ran out of the tan, so we put gray on the top, but then I ran out of the gray making these bobbins, so I had to get a different tan out, so now I've like flipped. Now my bobbin is the gray and the top is the tan. Oh man, I gotta just buy a whole big giant spool of those large like cones of Aurifil thread. That's the brand of this thread. I just gotta get one of those sometime. It's gotta get on my list. I've been trying to just use what I have, but we've been doing a lot of sewing here, so I'm gonna just finish off this leader here to get this started. Ooh. Come on, guy. There we go. Alright. That seems to be sewing just fine. Awesome. Good, got that taken care of. Let's see. Need this. Oh, we're still connected too. Bobbin made me lose my momentum here. So, all right. So ultimately, what we need to do is cut off all this excess because we don't need this anymore. We're gonna cut that down to like this 1/4-inch seam allowance and press this up, and then it'll be like a normal like seam allowance little thing. However, I like this trick. Mom showed me this trick, but I like to keep the original edge here before I cut it off, because when I press it, I can use that edge as a guide. So when I fold this up, I can match those 2 edges with my underneath edge, and then I know this is going to be perfectly square. Because if I cut these off first and then try and press this up, I'm just going to be like pressing it, and then I might, you know, it actually looks a little wonky, right? It looks like up and a little bendy, but if I use this as a guide, I can just kind of press it right where it needs to be. And yeah, there might be a little bit more of a fold here and a little less than a fold there, but nobody's gonna go. All right. Nolene's like, I knew that bobbin was near the end. Yeah, it gets kind of kerchunky, a little loud. A little loud with that. Oh, Jenna, I'm so sorry. Oh, you need to do what your body needs to do. Sewing will come back. There'll be a right time to start again for sure. All right. So I'm just going around and lining these up so you can see what it's looking like right away. You can always start and see how you feel. Because a lot of times, you know, the motivation might come after you start. But you just gotta do whatever you need to do, and you know, everything will come back later. pretty fun to do larger blocks like this too. This is a fun process with those strips. Oh, Becky says Laurie Holt used this technique a couple weeks ago for a broken dishes block. Oh, I can't quite remember what that one is. That one was kind of like a pinwheel block, right? I can't quite remember. I remember seeing that one when I was looking up all these like basic blocks. That was one of the reasons that I did that project, was because people always say these like fun names of blocks, and I never quite know which one's which. This turned out really pretty. So now, I mean, look how square it is too, right? And that's from lining it up with the edges. But now we can fold them back. I'm going to get my big scissors so I can do it in one big snip. But now we can fold that back, and remember to fold it back. You don't want to cut that one too. And we can just, kind of guess at our 1/4 inch. You could use a rotary cutter too, just measuring a 1/4 inch from your seam line will work fine. Yeah, and then we can just fold that back, and then we got our perfect seam allowance there. If you forget to do this and sew it together, that's fine. It'll just be a little bit thicker here. I've done that before. Forgot to cut. You just end up with, 2 more pieces of fabric there underneath where no one can see, and no one's gonna know. So don't worry if you forget to do this part. Oh man, I think we'll probably have just enough time to actually finish this block. That'd be good, because all we have to do yet is sew these 4 pieces together. So that we got to sew the top and bottom rows, and then those 2 rows together. We can probably do that in a few minutes here. Come on, guy. There we are. Shimmy these guys away. I don't think we'll use those. All right, I'm gonna let's give this a final little press, since I was messing with those ends. Cute! They're so cute! Look how much lighter it got with those corners as well. I mean, we will, again, be losing a lot of that in the seam allowance, but right now it's pretty. Okay, that guy goes there and there. All right, so we need to sew this top and bottom row. It's actually, we can do it in a similar way. We can sew them. I like doing things as same as I can, because then you can assembly line it and you don't have to think as much. So I'm going to actually sew them both like this, and then when we take it off the machine, we'll be able to flip it. So let's fold this over. I'm going to sew that seam first. So it doesn't look like we can really nest the seams together, because the seams are... Oh, here. Yeah, we can. If I turn it this way. Oh no, they're pressed outward everywhere, aren't they? Oh well. All right, let's line that up again. So I won't be able to do those nested seams because the seams are both going the same way. So I'll have to pay close attention to really trying to get those to line up. But I'm gonna sew with the... Ooh, gosh, these might not line up. We're going to just do our best. I'm going to sew with this on the top, because I want to see where these lines meet, and I want to be able to sew like right over where they meet, and that'll help us get super nice points, hopefully. Like where our points, this point lines up exactly. That's the goal there. So we'll see if we can do that. It should be right on that 1/4 inch mark, but you never know. But this white piece from this piece feels a little bit bigger. We might have made that pretty wonky, whereas I think we've been pretty accurate tonight. So our wonky piece and our accurate piece are just not going to line up well. So I don't 100% 100% expect these seams to line up as nice as what our seams earlier tonight did, but we'll do our best. All right, that's the first bit. Ugh, yeah. This is just, we're just gonna try and get these corners to match a little bit and hope for the best, I think. Okay, I'm going through those two corners, or where those two seams met. All right, that's the first one. Let's grab the second one and give this one a try. Using the stiletto as my tiny fingers, my extra pointy fingers, fake finger. All right, aiming for where those cross, again, those two seams. And it should just be right in the right spot, ideally. All right, now this one might match up a hair better. Okay, let's get a leader. Yeah, it's just one piece. All right, snip these fellers. Get that guy. Okay, let's see how we did here. Ooh, so where this point looks awesome. So that like our point's right on the edge there, and actually we're lined up really well there too. Versus this bottom one, you know, we're definitely stair-stepped. Because I couldn't line up those white pieces very well. But our point looks good. Our point's nice and pointy still. We didn't cut it off, or we didn't leave too much white. So not too shabby. What about this guy? Ooh, yeah, I thought this one was going to be a bit nicer. So pretty lined up. Not 100%, but point's looking pretty decent. This one's looking a little better. Great. Okay, so I'm going to press these. You know, I haven't looked at the instructions once, but I suspect that we're going to press towards this block, because this block has so many more seams in that it's not going to want to fold as easily. And look, it's already kind of pushing that direction. So we're going to just do that. We're going to do that on both, because if we press these seam allowances in the same direction, when we rotate one, then it'll be the opposite way later, and that will help us get those seams together. There's actually going to be a ton of seams that we're going to have to match for this next one. You know what? This is where a lot of people press open to make it easier to line up edges, but whatever. Oops, wrong way. I'm in it this far. We're going to just keep going. All right, there we go. So I've pressed them both this way, but now when I rotate one, now this one's this way and this one's that way. So let's just flip them both. There we go. So there's a lot to kind of match up here, and we're just going to sew, I think. But if I wanted to be super duper picky, you know, like this point, I'd want to match up here. I could actually put a pin there to make sure that I sew in the right spot. You know, all of these lines we're going to want to match up as best we can. But the main line down the middle will have that nested seam. This may actually be a case where I get a clip out. Once it gets a little bit bigger, the pieces get a little bit bigger on here. They like to move around a lot more than when I'm just working with a teeny tiny piece. So I'm going to match that middle bit up. That'll be good. So that'll hold there. And now I'm just going to kind of aim to try and get these other seams that are, you know, both going the same direction. I'm going to try and just match those up. So this top one I'll be able to see where these two match up, but I won't be able to see the underneath one, so we're just going to keep going and hope for the best. And yeah, I think we got it. Like I said, not being too overly picky with it being perfect tonight. All right, aiming for that seam. And like I said, if we sewed our blocks well enough, that seam where these meet, where these two seams meet, that cross should be in just the right spot. Because like right here, I won't be able to see it anymore. Okay, this is where that middle is. So I'm stopping once the needle's down in all these seams, once I know those seams are matched up, and then we're gonna just kind of try and get together the next piece here. Ooh, I can kind of see through this white, so I can kind of see where that line meets. Stiletto is really helpful for this, holding all these seams down along the way. Ugh, this one got a little goofy, it looks like, but about right there is where they meet. Alright, so I think we got it. All we gotta do is press, and we have a finished block. Yay! That means we start a whole new block tomorrow. That's how I like to start Splendid Sampler Week. Actually, finishing stuff up. Getting her done. Alright, so now I'll probably press flat. Let's peek. Oh, we didn't do that. I mean, that middle piece is totally matched up great. Not bad, not too bad here. I mean, this line definitely is in line with that a little bit better than this, but just barely. But those 2 points look really good. Now this one veered off quite a bit. This might have been the one that I couldn't see later. So it would definitely stair-stepped this way, but the points look good. So, not too shabby. I think it's a win. All right, let's just kind of press this flat a little bit. And I think I am going to just press that seam open because we got a lot of bulk here. Let's disperse that bulk on both sides. Suppose it doesn't matter. There's a lot of bulk in this whole block. Ooh, press that, guys. Weird. Okay, let's flip it, give it its final little press. But man, this looked like a complicated, I mean, not necessarily complicated, but there looked like there was a lot going on, like a lot of pieces with that block. But man, just that strip method and that method of putting the white bits instead of sewing the half square triangles beforehand, man, this sped up the process a ton. So, very happy with our veering from the instructions on this one. Ugh. It feels a little off. I know that these two were a little wonky when we made it. I wonder how close we are to the 6.5 inches. Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. All right, finished block for the night. Looking pretty good. Let's I'll show you the original again here. So we are doing that pale quilt, so all our colors are going to be lighter than everything in the book here. But I'm happy with that. Super duper happy. That's a lot of pieces for a tiny 6.5 inch block here. So, all right, you guys. Okay, so here we go. So tomorrow will be a whole new block. In theory, if I go down the row, here's my checklist. In the theory, the next one on my list is Cuppa on page 94. Let's check that out quick. 94. Okay, so that's this one, an applique one. So we could do that. We haven't done an applique block in a little while. That's where you can cut out like the shapes of the pieces and just sew them on. I think we could give that a go. We couldn't give that one a go when I was visiting my parents because I didn't have all the stuff to do applique there, but I'm home here now, so we could probably get that one going. I've just been going top to bottom, checking things off this list, so I think that one sounds good. Unless there was a different one that any of you wanted to work on, just let me know in the Penguin Fish Crafters group. I think we're going to finish this Cuppa block really easily too, so we might actually have time for another one this week, which would be awesome. Getting them done. All right, thanks again, everyone. Oh, yes, continue, check your emails tomorrow morning. We'll have a fun little thing happening now till the end of the month, or tomorrow till the end of the month. And then Next week, we'll be stitching up the butterfly. So we'll be at the office shipping tomorrow and Wednesday. So that's probably the best time if you want to get this before we start stitching. Get it before Wednesday afternoon. All right. So thanks, everyone, and I'll see you tomorrow here for another craft night with friends. Tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. Central. Have a good evening. Good night.